this city, I've seen my fair share of broken things. Broken dreams, broken lives, broken promises. But a broken church? Now that was something new. It started like any other case. A call in the middle of the night, a whisper of something gone wrong. The old place of worship, once a beacon of hope, now stood silent. Its heart stopped cold. They said it died from neglect, from division, from pride. But I had to know the truth. Who killed the church and why? They brought me in to find answers. Answers that lay buried under layers of arrogance, indifference, and bitterness. Each suspect had a story. Each one a piece of the puzzle. But together, did they add up to murder?
In my line, you meet all sorts. But it takes a certain hubris to think you're above it all. That's Benjamin Tan right there. Mr. Tan, you were a prominent figure in the church community, having served with the church for over 8 years and held various leadership positions. What went wrong?
Detective, it's quite simple. People didn't appreciate what I brought to the table. They were always questioning my decisions, undermining my authority.
Authority, a word often misunderstood and misused. Can you give an example, Mr. Tan?
Every time I proposed a new initiative or change, there were complaints. They couldn't see the bigger picture, the long-term benefits of my plans.
And how did you handle these complaints?
I ignored them, of course. They didn't understand my vision. I knew what was best for the church.
Vision. The word reeks of self-importance. Your vision, Mr. Tan?
Vision. Grand plans. I was a youth leader, a worship ministry leader, and now I'm a deacon on a church board. I'm more qualified, more experienced. But those clowns, they were stuck in their old ways. They couldn't keep up with real leadership.
Well, that's certainly an impressive resume, Mr. Tan. But don't you think this dismissive attitude, this real leadership, may have contributed to the church's struggles?
Struggles? The people struggle very much because they couldn't follow my lead and my progress.
Self-importance. It can blind you to the needs of others. Mr. Tan, a church is a community, not a kingdom. Is it meant to be one heart, one mind for Jesus?
Yes, one great mind. They needed direction. They just didn't appreciate greatness. Detective, I tried to show them the better way, but they were too blind to see it.
It's hard to recognize greatness when it's obscured by arrogance. Mr. Tan, don't you think this approach of yours may perhaps been a little bit misguided?
Misguided? I knew exactly what I was doing. They were the ones floundering in the dark, unwilling to embrace my lead and progress.
Progress. Another word twisted by pride. True leadership isn't about knocking people down. It's about building people up.
People needed to be shown the right way. My way. And if they couldn't see it, it's their loss. I have degrees, accolades, the works. What did they have? Tradition? Small-mindedness?
Mr. Tan, leadership isn't about imposing your will on others. It's about serving. It's about guiding with love and humility. Maybe it's time for you to reflect what it truly means to lead. Benjamin Tan thought he was a king without a kingdom. His arrogance was a small piece of the puzzle, still not yet complete. Next, we have Thomas Lee, the kind of kid who couldn't care less even if the sky fell. So Thomas, tell me about your church.
Church? It was a place to go on Sunday, I guess.
You guess. Weren't you part of the church activities?
Look, I went there just to keep up with appearances. I mean, if didn't really care too much about what was going on. And plus, if people have issues, that's their problem.
Appearances. Sometimes that's all people care about. So you were there physically, but not emotionally invested?
Church was low on my priority list. I mean, my parents forced me to go when I was younger. And then, now I just go because every time I go, my ama gives me money.
You're telling me your grandmother gives you money every time you go to church?
It's nothing personal, detective. Just business,
Do you think you could have made a difference if you tried?
Maybe, but who has the time? Everyone is too busy with their own lives, and if the church were to crumble apart, it's not like it was my responsibility.
Thomas, community is everyone's responsibility. If nobody cares, everything falls apart.
Yeah. Whatever you say, detective.
Do you think this attitude of yours may have caused the church's struggles?
Maybe, but like I said, it's not my fault. I have my own life to deal with.
Indifference is a silent killer. It can creep in unnoticed until it's just too late. Thomas, sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to make a big difference and change everything.
Effort? Sure. So, are we done?
Thomas Lee's indifference was as lethal as a knife. Apathy can kill just as surely as malice. Another piece of the puzzle in place, but still not yet complete. Next, we have Madam Chan. She had a chip on her shoulder so large, you could almost trip over. Madam Chan. Okay. You were a regular at the church. What happened?
I don't know what you're getting at, but I did my part. I did everything I was supposed to.
Defensive. Every question a threat. Every answer a rebuttal. Whoa. Madam Chan, I'm just trying to understand. Were there issues within the church community?
Issues? The only issue was people constantly criticizing my efforts. I did everything by the book. And if they didn't like it, that's on them, not me.
You sound a little bit frustrated. Do you think you were unfairly targeted?
Unfairly targeted? Absolutely. Every time I try to enforce some rules or make improvements, somebody just has something to say. It is exhausting.
Do you feel like you got some sort of support at least?
Support? Hardly. Most people just want to do things their own way. No one appreciated the effort I put in to keep things organized and efficient.
So this was important to you, to feel appreciated and valued?
Yes. I gave so much of my time, my energy, so much, and all I got in return was criticism and ingratitude.
Bitterness. It can poison the soul, cloud judgment, and ruin relationships. So, Madam Tan, you felt like this affected your relationship with the church community?
Of course it did. How could it not? People were so sensitive, more focused on their petty hurt feelings and their personal vendettas that they lost sight on what truly mattered. It is not my fault that they cannot see constructive feedback.
Constructive feedback cuts both ways. Sometimes it's the giver that needs to receive. Madam Chan, doesn't your church preach of unity, one heart and mind? Don't you think a softer approach may have been more appropriate? Doesn't your Bible speak of gentleness, bearing with one another in love?
I did what I thought was best. If they can't see it, 那个是他们的问题，不是我的问题. Not my problem, all right?
Madam Chan had a fire in her eyes, anger, betrayal, and a whole lot of pain. Madam Chan, holding on to this resentment can be destructive. Sometimes it takes letting go to truly make a difference.
Maybe. But it is hard to let go when you have been hurt so many times.
And did you voice these concerns?
Oh, I did. But no one cared. They were all too busy with their inner cliques and their power trips.
And so you felt isolated and unheard?
Yes,
Then why didn't you leave?
I wanted to. I stayed because I believe in what the church could be. But I simply can't make them see it.
So you stayed and you stayed and you let this resentment build.
It isn't just me. There were others too. We were all pushed aside for the sake of the inner circles.
And this created a division.
More than you could imagine.
Resentment, it can poison the well, turn allies into adversaries. Madam Chan, in your heart, do you think unity in the church was at all possible?
I had hope so. But hope is not enough.
Madam Chan, always on the defensive. She built walls instead of bridges. Gentleness, patience were virtues that she lacked. And in her rigidity, she lost sight of the bigger picture. Unity through the bond of peace. Her bitterness drove a wedge right through the heart of the church, fracturing its unity. And finally, we have Pastor Samuel Wong. Man put the world all on his shoulders, only to be crushed by his weight. Pastor Sam, you were the heart of the church. What happened?
Detective, it's hard to explain. I did my best. I really did. But the weight of the responsibilities, the conflicts, the expectations, they all became just too much to bear.
Did you ask for any help?
Help was sporadic at best. You know, people have their own priorities. They have their own problems. They have their own lives to live, their own issues to deal with. So I guess they expected me to handle everything. Every single thing.
Overwhelmed. Sometimes the burden is just too much for one man to bear. Did anyone offer any kind of support?
Very few. And even then, only when it suited them or was done their way. Otherwise, they wouldn't even lift a finger to help. I was constantly tired. You know how draining it is trying to please everyone? In the end, I pleased no one.
So you felt abandoned and overburdened?
Yes, detective. Extremely. And it's so heartbreaking to see it all fall apart. Despite the energy, the time, and the effort I poured into the church.
You tried your best. Sometimes it's just too much for one man to bear.
I know. But it still hurts to see it all crumble.
When one man tries to do it all, everyone loses. And did you feel like the church was slowly slipping away despite your best efforts?
Every day, detective. Every single wretched day. It felt like holding sand in my hands. The more I tried to grip it, the more it slipped away.
And in your heart, Pastor Sam, who do you think murdered the church?
It was us, detective. Our arrogance, our indifference, our bitterness. We forgot our mission. We forgot to love. And that's how we killed the church.
Sometimes, when one man tries to do it all, everyone loses. It takes a little bit of that letting go. Pastor Sam's burdens was just too much. The final piece of the puzzle was now in place. The full picture of the church's murder was now complete. A church dies from within, not from without. Arrogance, indifference, bitterness, burnt out. These all contributed to the church's demise. But the real culprit, the real killer, it was a lack of love. The church isn't just a building. It's community. It's family. Without love, the church just withers and dies. One heart, one mind for Jesus. That's what they forgot. And in their forgetting, they let the church die.